That is Zoee and the song we sing. An anthem to lift people. That's what we need right now. Wonderful. Now, Zoee is a rising Australian alt-country singer-songwriter now living in the UK, and I'm delighted to say she joins me on the line. Hello, Zoee.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to play your new single in a moment and have a chat about that. But let's talk a little bit about your background, because, of course, you're from Australia, a rural area near the southern Australian coast. Now, just sort of put it roughly on the map. Where did you originate?
Well, I was actually born in Tassie, but growing up as a kid, the family and I, we travelled pretty much everywhere. And I got family in Queensland and South Australia and Melbourne. So my accent's kind of pretty broad now. But, yeah, I was originally born in Tassie.
And as a child, where you were living, you had no phone or TV?
That's true. No, it was a pretty wild way of growing up. You know, it allowed me to grow up listening to a pretty vast array of music that my parents they offered me, and you know, life was all about living in, you know, the wild and kind of growing up in by the coast, and you know, growing up like I think kids probably should, with dirt on their feet and climbing trees and being a little bit wild. You know.
I was reading somewhere that you wanted to be captain of the Queen Mary for a time.
That is true. I did. I was 4 and I was determined that was going to be what I wanted to do. It was a piloting of some form. After that, I wanted to do piloting of an aeroplane. John Travolta gave me the idea that would be a pretty cool thing. So I ran with that for a while. And then, lo and behold, music sort of poked its head up and here we are.
Were there many animals around you when you were a child?
Oh, my goodness. It was just all the time animals. We had dogs, we had chooks, we had cats, we had ducks, wallaby, you know, lizards, goannas, so many little critters. It was, and always animals around the house. It was just the best way to grow up, because it kind of gave you a sense of you know, having to take care of things, and it sort of taught you more about yourself in the same light, which was really pretty cool.
That's why you needed people like Steve Irwin, just to put you on the straight and narrow. I understand you were homeschooled, weren't you? Who taught you?
So my parents are actually qualified teachers, and I don't know, for anybody listening, you probably know in my band I have my brothers as well, and they were also home taught as well. So both my parents are both qualified school teachers. We lived so isolated that there was no way we could have attended school where we were. So it was kind of the only way out. It was really, really good in many ways, but it was also kind of a bit of a bugger, because you couldn't really get out of any, you know, school days and say that you had a sick day, because your parents kind of know the difference.
Now, your dad used to play music in the shed where he built things. What sort of things was he building?
Oh, my goodness. Dad done so much joinery over the years. He was like just always doing craft stuff, cabinets and tables and chairs, and kind of just, you know, really intricate little things in the shed, and lots of toys for us kids growing up. You know, he'd always make toys and stuff. So it was a pretty cool way to grow up. And in the shed, he would have just so much music playing. And then in the house, Mum would have her own selection music playing. So you literally walked from the house into the shed, and it was just so vastly different. Dad would have, you know, Mel Haggard playing, and Mum would have Jimmy Barnes playing in the house. And, you know, you just kind of like, it was always, you know, music and animals and just life. It was really, really wonderful.
To be honest, Zoe, it's quite good that the family were isolated, because you sound like a very noisy lot. You can
say that.
I know you used to write stories and you kept journals as a child, and your poems sort of evolved into lyrics, didn't they, after a while?
They definitely did. I mean, I sort of started music kind of by accident. It was more of just a thing I just found fascination for with poetry, and I you know, just slowly converted that. Dad always had a guitar kicking around the house, and he played, and there was always music, as I said, so it was kind of like a natural progression, I think, to take lyrics and stuff and just kind of adapt those to a song, pick up a guitar and learn the first set of chords that you can work out, and next thing you know, you've got a song on your hands. So it just evolved very progressively, and my family have been super duper supportive of the whole thing. So it's been a wonderful progression. You know, they've pretty much followed me around the world now and have been on tour with me. And my dad's my lead guitarist. My as I said a minute ago, my brothers are my drummer and my keyboard player, and my mum's my manager. So that's kind of like, they've definitely not let me down when it comes to being supportive, which is incredible. So,
tell me about the first album of songs that you recorded. I think you were about 15 or 16. You recorded them with your dad for fun. What were they like?
They were vastly different from what I have now. I was a lot younger then, and my voice didn't quite sound the same as it does now. But it was definitely the turning point for me to really, you know, as I said a minute ago, it was kind of like a hobby to get started, and that was kind of my taste into recording and writing songs and actually seeing if it was something that I really wanted to pursue. And after that, the family and I, we ended up doing a trip, and we went to Nashville, and I did a few shows out in Nashville, and I was dead set. That was it. Afterwards, I had the hunger for it, and I didn't want to leave it behind ever again. So music kind of started from there, which is pretty wild.
In fact, tell me about that, because you went on this promotional tour of the United States, which I think you organised yourself. You played a series of shows, and you were performing live, I think, for the first time in public, weren't you?
Yeah, so it was kind of like, I mean, last year we had a massive tour, and since we've been in the UK for the last 4 years, and since we've been here, we've pretty much been doing show after show after show. That was the real turning point. We did a few things back in Australia, but I think primarily the directive for me is to kind of like come home to Australia with something. So that's always been a bit of a goal for me, to come back and sort of, you know, just come back with something. So being over here in the UK, everybody has been so incredibly supportive of that. And, you know, and as I say a minute ago, you know, doing it all independently is quite challenging at different points in time. So you are organising your own shows. You're essentially your own record label. So you're doing your own bookings, your own management, your own social media, taking care of everything on the road, making sure that you get from X to Z and kind of in time, and making sure that everything's going to fall into place. And it is tricky. It's definitely tricky. But having the team of the family like I do, it definitely makes it a whole lot easier. And the hardest part, I guess, is finding people that you can trust in the music industry that can have this and share the same you know, vision that you have. And I'm incredibly fortunate for the fact that I do have the family like I do, because they do all kind of share the same thing as me. So it's a very a special setup, I guess you could say.
You've done masses of live work over the last couple of years, and you've appeared at quite a few festivals. Have you enjoyed those big shows?
Oh my goodness, festivals are my favourite, and I miss them so much. It's you know, last year we went out to we did a full UK tour. We did Foodies Festival, and that was all in aid of Musicians Against Homelessness. And you know, we came actually down through Bristol and did a whole bunch of things. Then we flew out to Nashville and we did the CMA Festival, which is all for music education in aid of. So I mean, there's so many different things that we got to do last year, and this year we had planned so much. And you know, obviously that has kind of fallen to its knees a little bit, and everything's been cancelled until further notice. But festivals and shows, it's broken my heart, this lockdown, because it's the way that I know how to share music, you know, and get in front of a crowd and feeling that energy bounce off them, and you know, that kind of reciprocates back to you as the artist on stage, and the band start to feel it, and everybody just starts to vibe. And there is a certain magic in that you can't get, I think, you know, being at home now and not being able to tour like we were, trying to adapt to being an online artist essentially, and doing these live stream shows and stuff. It's very rewarding for the fact that we can do it that way, but it's definitely not the same as actually being able to get out and really connect with people and really see people and see how they react to it, which is always so nice.
You have contributed to a feature film soundtrack, though, haven't you? Tell me about that.
So that was pretty interesting, actually. That was, back in 2018. I was doing an audition, actually, for an award show performance. And ironically, I was in the room with the director for this film, and I had no idea. And he was just sitting quietly in the corner, kind of listening. And the guys that I was trying to impress, well, they were kind of excited about me performing at the award show. And then next thing I know, this director, he comes up to me, he says, look, he said, I'm so sorry to interrupt. He said, but I've got this film that I've been working on. He said, and I've been looking for somebody to do the feature film soundtrack to it since I started this project, like, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. He said, and I've not found anybody that suits it for it. He said, but just hearing you just now, he said, wow. He said, would you be interested in doing it for me? And I sort of was like, hang on, what? Are you serious? And he went, yeah, of course I am. He said, that's incredible. So he gave me some basic outlines of the characters of the film. He didn't give me any other details about it except for it was the basic outline. And he said, see what you can come up with. So I came back 2 days later with a song called Town, and I pulled out the acoustic guitar and I said, look, I don't know what you're going to think of this. And, if things need to be changed, I'm more than happy to change things. That's totally fine. I said, but here's the idea. And so I played in this song called Town, and him and his mates and they were just sort of sitting back in their chairs and they're just listening. They got their eyes shut, and I'm kind of, my heart's racing by the time I get to the end of the song, and I'm thinking, gosh, they're going to want to change things. It's not going to be any good. They're not saying anything. What's going on? And he kind of just sits forward in his chair and he opens his eyes up and he says, we're going to go and record that right now. That is perfect. That's exactly what I've been looking for. And I was blown away. So we pretty much hit the studio right after that. 13 hours later, we came out with a song called Town, and it went off the top the Scottish new music charts and do a bunch of other things, which was just crazy. So it was a pretty wild adventure. Absolutely.
Sounds fantastic. Now, our featured artist today was Rod Stewart, and you're a big fan of Rod Stewart. You'd love to do a duet with him, wouldn't you, I suppose? Oh,
my goodness. That would be the mecca. I wouldn't. That'd be the best. He's been an idol of mine since I was. Funny story, actually. I was very, very small. Around about 3 or 4, I used to listen to Rod Stewart every night. He was my favourite, and I'd have cassette tapes that I'd borrow from Mum and Dad. And when I say borrow on long term without them knowing that I borrowed them. So essentially, I guess you could say it's kind of like, Anyway. So I would do that, and I would fall asleep listening to Rod Stewart. And Mum and Dad ended up taking me out to see him in Perth. I was about 5 at this point, and I said, I'm so excited. And they said, oh, it's going to be great. You should take a nap before we go because you're only, you're excited and you're going to get tired. It's going to be a late night. I said, no, I'll be fine. And I'm super hyped up by this point. I'm so excited to be seeing Rod Stewart. And they go, come on, you really should take a nap. It's going to be late. And as it were, I get to the concert. I get to the first 2 or 3 songs in, and I'm falling asleep because I'm so used to falling asleep to him for that time. So I did wake up later. Mum and Dad they got me on my feet, and I was dancing and having the best time. And he was up on stage kicking soccer balls or footballs around, and just being himself, and absolutely incredible. And I was so annoyed at the end of the show because we went and met him at the end, and my little brother, who is actually my drummer now, Rod went up and met him and gave him a kiss on the forehead, and like I was looking up at him. I'm like, no, this is me. You should be doing this too. And Zed, my brother, he's never let me live it down now. He's like, oh yeah, Rod loves me more than you, So
well, facts speak for themselves. Now, I played your song a moment ago, the song We Sing, which you released when the pandemic began, I think. And you've got a new single now, Break My Heart, which is a song about heartbreak, but there's a sort of underlying message as well about life and about society, isn't it?
There is. So the song We Sing is kind of like, it's about getting back up on your feet when you fall down, and just reminding people that, you got to stand together in times of trouble, and everybody falls down. And the hardest part is getting back up, and that's what the song is all about. And Break My Heart is kind of like, it is a love song, but I wrote it in the way of it being about, this young person coming into the world, and I guess it's a bit of a shadow of my own story of coming into the world and realizing that, there's so much opportunity and there's so much life and wonder and joy to be had. And as you slowly become an adult into the world, you sort of realize that there's a lot of things around you that want to kind of suppress those things and kind of take that joy away from you, and they don't let you find that kid inside you as easily anymore. So that's what the song is all about. It's about not letting society break you down, and if that's the way it is, then just keep on keeping on, and don't let it hit you. So
well, Zoe, thank you.
They kind of work together.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I can tell that you're absolutely gagging to get back on the road again and perform live. Have you got anything penciled in for next year at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. We're working on shows for the States, more for the UK, and then a whole bunch of things down through Europe as well. I've been wanting to get down through Germany and back to Sweden and doing a whole bunch of things out that way. So it should be a big year next year, I'm really hoping. But releasing more music until the end of the year. Every month I've got a new song coming out, and I'm pretty stoked for what's happening. We're in the middle of shooting music videos at the moment, so it's been a little bit challenging trying to, we start next week, so it's in the middle of trying to organise everything to make sure everything's socially distanced and everybody's going to be safe on set, and everything's going to be, on schedule and on time. So it's a different way of making music, but I'm enjoying the challenges and the fun of it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I must ask you finally, Zoe, your name, did you add the extra E to Zoe, or did that come with your parents?
Actually, I added it. I've 4's always been my lucky number, so it balanced it out for me.
Well, I tell you, it makes you easier to Google. Thank you very much for coming on today, Zoe. All the best to you.
Thanks, Steve. You have a great one.
There you go. That's the Australian country singer and songwriter Zoe, Zoee. Here's her new single, Break My Heart.
Well, I've done called you 1,000 times. Hey, it's me. Leave it after the time. And you said that it'd never be this way. So why am I talking to your phone? You've been sniffing around and I hear you've been caught. The lonely fox just got the light shot on his door. And all I can say is what happened to us. 'Cause you're with her and you're not with me. I don't understand how it's come
with 2 E's. That's their new single, Break My Heart. Look out for Australian country singer On the Way Up.